Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. clapping the last time? What is the good use of clapping?
Faster or slower according to the
Tune.
According to tune. Okay, in tune. And then what about the volume of clapping?
It should be loud.
It should be loud? Okay, but how many hands should you use?
Two.
2 hands? Alright, yes, yes, yes. Then all of us should be in prayer, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, so we clap.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very good clapping. Now we'll sing Rasa everybody to our Bhakti Vrksa. We are having it for the first time in Foster City after a gap of almost 9 years, right, Rakesh? We used to have that almost 9 years ago. In our place, we used to live here, and then we were allowed to play mridangam and the musical instruments in our place. Not any longer. We got rebuked and scolded, so I had to stop doing it there. But anyway, thank you so much to Devi Mataji and to Raj Prabhu for opening your home and your hearts to allow us to do Krishna Katha at your place. And we're having it one day too early because tomorrow is Raj Prabhu's birthday. So in our tradition, we will sing the birthday song to him. And Neha, that might be new to you, but here we go. Those who know, let's sing. Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Raj Prabhu. Hare Krishna to you.
Krishna bless you. May
Krishna bless you.
It's tomorrow.
May
Krishna
bless you, Lord Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna to you.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha
Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hari Bol.
So it's a very auspicious thing to have Krishna Katha around your birthday, which I think according to the Indian time is already your birthday today, right? Okay, so we will start. We will start with our round of introductions as we do always. So I am Shraddha-devi Dasi from Foster City, and behind my camera, never going to show his face, he thinks is my husband, Rakesh Prabhu, and then going over to the devotees.
Hare Krishna, I'm Mayank, I'm from San Mateo.
Just your name, please. Say your name.
My name is Samarth and I'm from India.
Very cool.
I'm
Samarth, your name is Samarth?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I'm Neha, I'm from San Mateo.
I am Shubhangi from Foster City.
From Foster City, Swangi. Very good.
Hare
Very good.
Krishna, this is Liyash and I'm from Pacifica.
All the way from Pacifica to
This is
Foster
Mansi
City.
from Pacifica.
Very good. Welcome, Mansi.
Hare
Who is
Krishna.
this little one?
This is me, Suraj.
Me, Suraj. Very good.
Hare Krishna, I'm Raj from Foster City.
Hare Krishna, I'm Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so today we have a very interesting topic in continuation with what we talked about last week. Does anybody remember what we talked last time we had? It was almost a month ago.
Nectar of instruction.
Something from nectar instruction? Yeah, but what was it that we talked about?
Dadati
You
Prati.
weren't there? Okay.
Dadati Prati.
So, okay, then you're excused. Yeah, so we're talking about 6 items which are favorable to devotional service. So for the past several sessions, we have been kind of on a counting spree, talking about 4 kinds of people who surrender to Krishna, 4 types of people who don't surrender to Krishna, and then 6 types of items which are unfavorable to devotional service. And now we're going to talk about 6 types of items or actions which are unfavorable to devotional service. Okay? So you have your handouts in front of you, and we'll go round robin and we'll read, and somebody can give a handout to Raj as well. You have one with you? Okay. So Mayank, why don't we start with you? So we'll do as usual, we will do a paragraph each. Does that make sense?
Okay. Atyaharah prayasascha prajalpo niyamagrahah janasangascha laulyamcha shadvir bhaktir vinashayati. Translation: One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled
You got it.
in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Taking unnecessary or talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements.
First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Everyone needs possessions like food, money, and other things in order to maintain his body, but one should not accumulate more than necessary for one's personal requirement. Living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessities.
Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Although we are in need of a certain economic development, it is only allowed for essential things in life. The real goal of life is to realize the absolute truth. As soon as we don't direct our endeavors in this direction, we will simply increase our artificial demands. Therefore, we have to guard ourselves from worldly endeavors. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and a milk cow. There is no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood, for one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. That can solve all economic problems.
3. Talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. Those who are interested in Krishna consciousness like to read heaps of newspapers, solve riddles, read novels, etc. They are simply wasting their time with useless activities. In this way, materialistic people waste valuable time and energy. Old people spend their days with playing cards, fishing, television, and speculations about social and political topics. All these activities belong to Prajalpa category and should be avoided by the intelligent people.
4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and the regulations of the scriptures and working independently and whimsically. Those who are interested in Krishna consciousness should not be eager to follow rules and regulations in order to have economic success, but they should faithfully follow the rules and regulations given in the scripture and follow the order of the spiritual master in order to advance in Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because of atyahara or an excessive desire for such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness.
Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. There are two kinds of non-devotees, those who are against Krishna's supremacy and those who are absorbed in material sense gratification. One should strictly avoid such association. We should live only in association with Krishna conscious devotees and always be engaged in Krishna's service in their association. Consequently, materialistic persons from various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in the business world, we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna.
Being greedy for mundane achievements, desires for mystic powers, merging into Brahman, whimsically striving for wealth, etc., are all in the category of greed. All attempts for material or pseudo-spiritual achievements are obstacles in devotional service. Modern warfare waged between capitalists and communists is due to their avoiding the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami regarding atyahara. Modern capitalists accumulate more wealth than necessary, and the communists, envious of their prosperity, want to nationalize all the wealth and property. Thus, unless all wealth comes under the administration of Krishna, there can be no solution to the economic problem of mankind. So what a perfect chapter, right? Each one of us got a paragraph, and not more, right? Because if it becomes more than necessary, then it becomes atyahara, right?
That's true.
Okay, so let's have a few reflections on what words stuck to your mind from what you read here.
Almost everything, but one thing which is there is no need to move from one place to another, and here I am reading in the United States after coming from India.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but well, you have come for a good cause to spread Krishna consciousness in this world. So you are on the right path. Yeah. Anybody else thought anything else, other interesting?
I have questions.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Recollect. Go ahead.
We talk about like eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Like, what is the requirement and how should we define necessity? Requirement.
That's a very good. Again, one, and that is why.
Everything.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is always. That's the reason we should always be recalibrating our needs and our requirements all the time. Constantly see, according to the time, place, and circumstances, the requirements might change. But I can give you my example that when I first came into Krishna consciousness, I had a lot of materialistic things in my home, like dinner sets and things like that. So they were unopened, and I just gave them away, saying that atyahara, it's over collecting. You should not collect all these things. So I gave them away. And then after that, as I was talking about 8-9 years ago, when I started having Bhakti Vrksa in my home, I needed dinner sets. So I plates, right, in which the devotee will eat. So I had to go and buy them. So something which in the first situation was atyahara, collecting more than necessary. In the second situation, it became good. A good thing to do, right? So you have to constantly calibrate and see and find out the root cause why you are doing the over collecting or overeating or whatever you're doing. For example, I remember one brahmachari was very beautiful in Prabhupada's days. And so obviously, when you're beautiful, women get attracted to you, and that's a distraction for a brahmachari. And so Prabhupada said, you eat a lot so that you'll become fat. And so nobody will be attracted to it. So you eat that. Yeah. So even overeating. So what we have to remember is that if things are connected with Krishna, and you do that in consultation with people, and you should also know what are the people that you should consult with. You just don't go and consult with anybody and everybody. You go to, consult the books, and consult your spiritual master, and also consult or at least observe what others are doing. So this is called as triangulation of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. So because you might have a wrong Guru, right? But whatever the Guru is saying, if the Shastras are also saying the same thing, then it is good, right? But then you also see that others also saying doing the same thing, because the Guru can be interpreting Shastras not according to the time, place, and circumstance. So he might be pretty rigid. He could be doing what is mentioned here is niyamagraha, when you follow the rules strictly, too strictly, and not deviate them. For example, Prabhupada's spiritual master told him to chant 64 rounds every day, right? But when he came here, he adjusted and made it 16, right? Because of the time, place, and circumstance. It's impossible for us to do 64 rounds and then maintain a family and keep your job, nose above the water, and things like that. So it's really a relative thing. It depends on time, place, and circumstance, and you should always confer with other people. And at some corner of your heart, you will always know if you are eating extra. I think we can all start following the rule after tonight.
I think does it apply to prasadam, Mataji, eating too much?
Well, sometimes devotees used to ask Srila Prabhupada that if you cook extra prasadam and then if you have to throw it in the trash can or it goes down the drain, right? So what is it a waste? So then Prabhupada said, only prasadam that is overeaten is a waste. Right? Because even if you are throwing the prasadam or dumping it in the trash can, you have to dump it. There are living beings and living entities there in the trash can and in your sink. They are there who will never get a chance to have prasadam otherwise, right? So they go and get that as well. So prasadam, Prabhupada said, only if you overeat it, then it goes waste. And people know, if you overeat, then there are side effects of overeating, right? What are some of the side effects of overeating? Sleep, yes, right? First thing is there is sleep, right? unhealthy, your health will go down, you put on fat, and then that will make you even more lethargic. Yeah. And actually talking about atyahara, which is one side of atyahara, ahar we always understand to be eating, but ahar also means collecting things. And Prabhupada says towards the end of this section, right? It's one letter of instruction was to a book translated by Srila Prabhupada, was written by Rupa Goswami, Sikshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Sikshamrita. So he says towards the end that the capitalist countries want to hoard more and more, right? And the classic example is like buy one get one free, or even buy two get third half off.
Or
You meant that?
Costco.
Yeah. So you needed one, or maybe you need half, but you can't buy half, So you go to buy one, and then there is buy one get one free. So then you have another one. And then again about the atyaharas. When I first came here, I was surprised at the size of the mug. Like 1 cup of tea here versus 1 cup of tea that you would have back in India. The size is very different, and then there's size, and there's medium, there's super size it. The soap size looks very nice, and just for a little extra money you can super size it, and you get into that habit of atyahara, right? So this country can do those kinds of things for us. So we have to constantly be careful of not over collecting, and interesting thing is that Prabhupada gives this example. He says that if you take a bag of grain and you leave it in the crossroad, like Churaha, right? And leave it over there, so the birds will start coming. So the birds will come, they will eat a little bit, maybe they'll come back again, eat a little bit more, but when their bellies are full, they will go away, right? But when a human beings come over there, what will a human being do? They'll carry that sack and take it home. Because that's a tendency. Our tendency is to keep on collecting things, and then the media and the advertisements, they don't help us at all. They kind of, they will market some stuff and make you feel, and they're so good at marketing it that they will make you feel that you really, really, really want it. And this is Maya. This is Maya. Not this. This is not what your want was. This is not it. This is not what you need. But that is what Maya does. That it makes what is unnecessary for you, it makes you think that it is the most necessary thing in life for you right now. Like if you don't have that piña colada, or you don't have that butterscotch ice cream tonight, then you'll die. I have to tell you something like that. So we have to be careful about over collecting, even if it's prasadam. Any other thoughts?
One thought was just this Wednesday's class, Maharaj was also talking about point 5, associating with worldly minded persons. So
Please tell us more about that.
Maharaj was also balancing this in practical way, and he was saying that we should also not be fanatics, because we have to practically go out and work with people, and we have to deal with worldly minded persons. So we should not be fanatics and totally avoiding them. We should maybe associate with them in a practical way, try to inspire them if they are innocent. We know the 3 varieties of people that we come across. Some are devotees, so we make friendship with them. Some are people who are innocent. We try to give them Krishna consciousness. And people who are inimical or envious, we try to just stay away from them and maybe give them prasadam. Today also actually I was listening to Radha Swami Maharaj, one of the class of Srimad Bhagavatam, so he also mentioned the same thing. So I thought I'll bring in the point where it kind of goes with all the 6 things here, that even though we should really try to strictly follow all of this, but it also does not mean that we should be fanatics.
Yeah, and then fanatic actually comes in point number 2 as well, and we will visit that too. And one of the things is that how much is necessary, and how much food should I eat. We always have to think that this is a very interesting thing, and that is that the more you serve Krishna, the more you will be, which means the more you become a servant, the more you will become a master. Now, in the material world, it might appear to be difficult to understand, because if I'm at office and if I become a servant of everybody, how can I become the boss, right? But here, what this statement means is that the more you serve Krishna, the more you become a master of your senses, right? The more you take towards devotional service, the more you will be able to control your senses. Why? Because senses are at a lower level. The lowest is the material, then above the senses is the, above them is the senses, above the senses is the mind, above mind is intelligence, above the intelligence is the soul, right? And above the soul is the super soul, and super soul is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like that. So if you're doing devotional service to Him, then what's going to happen is that because you have developed a higher taste, Bhagavad Gita says, Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasupyasya param drishtva nivartate. So it says that, when you find a higher taste, then you're able to give up a lower taste. For example, when Prabhupada came here, he was dealing with the hippies. Now, hippies were doing every possible sin that is in the book of sins, right? But then, when Prabhupada showed them what Krishna consciousness is, they gave up all that. Why? Because they have found a higher taste. So once you find that higher taste, then some of the lower taste will automatically go up, and you will find your balance there in how much you should be, eating. Also, we have to remember that this is a human form of life, which is very rare to achieve, and the purpose of this human life is to find Krishna, right? So towards that end, if you have to eat, then you should eat, right? If you have to maintain a healthy body, which requires that you should have juice, you should have fruits, you should do that. So there's nothing like, because I'm a yogi, I won't touch Lakshmi, because I'm, pursuing devotional service, so I should not eat this, I should not eat that. Whatever we have, whatever is allowed for us to eat, and whatever is good for devotional service, we offer it to Krishna, and then we have prasadam. Now the question is that how much prasadam do you have, right? With too much of prasadam, you won't be able to wake up in the morning and do devotional service like that. But the key over here is that the more you serve Krishna, the more master you become of your body. And for example, there's one of the lectures I heard that they were giving the example of an aviation expert. So he's an expert pilot, and so he's able to maneuver the aeroplane this way and that way, this and that way. But which means that he's a master of the aeroplane, because he knows how to do things to it. However, when the plane is on the ground, then the same pilot will also take a lot of care, overhauling it, getting it clean, and things like that, right? So similarly, if you equate the aeroplane to your body and your soul to be the pilot, so we want to be controller of the body, but that doesn't mean that I'm controlling the body, I'm controlling this hunger, I'm not. So if the body is saying I want food, no, I'm controlling you, I won't give you food. Mm-hmm. It's not like that, right? We also have to take care of the body so that the body and the soul stay together for you to be able to do devotional service like that. Right? So similarly, you'll also find balance in how much money should I accumulate, right? So this book is written by Rupa Goswami, and then his brother was Sanatan Goswami, right? And Prabhupada translated that into English for us. And Updeshamrita is the name of he wrote it in Sanskrit, and so Prabhupada translated that. So both the brothers, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were holding very high positions with the Nawab Hussain in Bengal, like 500-600 years ago. And they were so good at whatever they did that they became the finance minister and the prime minister in that. And when they retired, they had the Nawab gave them a boat full of gold coins. There's a lot of money. A boat full of gold coins, like $1 billion they got, right? So it's not that they threw away all the money. They did not do that actually. They used that in the service. A portion of that they used in the service of Krishna. A portion of that they kept it for future emergencies. And emergency came. They were thrown into the jail, and they had to bribe him out of the jail. So they really got money. So again, for money also, whatever that you're using in Krishna consciousness, you can be a billionaire, and if you want to endeavor and you want to work really hard because your aim is that I want to earn money so that I can serve Krishna better, then that's okay. It's not atyahara at all. It's not atyahara at all. So when Krishna actually tells Brahma in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, and Brahma's prayers, when Brahma is first born, he doesn't know how to create and what to create. So he prays to Krishna, and when Krishna appears to him, he tells him the whole Bhagavatam in 4 verses only. And so that Chaturshloki Bhagavatam comes in the second canto, 9th chapter. I think verses 33, 34, 35, 36 are the 4 there. So in one of the verses he says, so he says that, anything which is not in connection to Krishna, any activity you do or any item that you collect or you buy or you eat, if it is not connected to Krishna, then it is Maya. If it is connected to Krishna, then that's fine. Okay? So if you're buying something and you want to eat a hamburger, there you see, is the hamburger something that you can go and offer to Krishna? If it cannot be connected to Krishna, then don't have it. It's very clear, it's very, very simple, like that. What books should I read? A riddle. Like here Prabhupada mentions that people spend their time doing riddles. And people really look forward to retirement, because what can I do after retirement? Okay, I've got so many books that I need to read, they're all trash novels. And I want to go to this place, I want to go to this place, I want to try drinks, I want to eat lays, I want to lay out in the sun. And guess what? Before you know, you'll die, and then you'll be entering some other body. Maybe human, maybe not, like that. So instead of doing that, if you're doing activities of studies, well, why don't you have a set of Prabhupada books that you want to read after retirement? It might be too late though. And similarly, when it comes to riddles, I want to solve riddles. If you liked, well, you know what? As you age, to keep your mind alert, they say, the scientists tell us that you should solve some riddles and some puzzles so that you'll stay alert, which is very good. I mean, if you want to do that to stay alert, then very nice thing. But then just don't go to Sudoku and start putting numbers on there. There are riddles on ISKCON.com, riddles on Srimad Bhagavatam that you can solve. You can start writing riddles, and you can do quizzes and things like that. So idea is that if you're connecting the activity with Krishna, then it is the right thing to do. If you're not able to connect it, then it's not good. It's not a good idea to do that. Any other idea, any other questions or any other comments or reflections before I go a little bit deeper into that? And one thing very interesting that Prabhupada says, which is actually a shame on us, is that he says that animals and living entities. This is from the point number 1. Living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Right? We will collect more, we will buy more. Somebody gives you something for free, you'll ask, like, do you have one more free? I've seen that when I used to work, I used to give giveaways. Like, do you have one more? Like that. So it's a human tendency. We have this tendency that we want more and more and more of that. But kamasya nendriyapiti, right? Your aim should not be to indulge your senses, kamasya, and to fulfill your desires. Our aim should be to fulfill the desires of Krishna and to fulfill the senses of Krishna. And our aim, especially for those of us who are pursuing devotional service, we should not be getting in touch with things that are going to be detrimental to our devotional service. Don't do anything like that, especially when it comes to sense gratification, because senses are very, very strong. Once you indulge in them, once you give them a little way, they will just start controlling you. Like, for example, you are saying that I won't eat unnecessarily. So you make a sankalpa, I won't eat unnecessarily. That's fine. Now, one fine day that you have to work a little late in the night, and you are hungry at 11. So you open the fridge and you find some ice cream is there. So you take it out and you eat it, and you have nice justification, and your mind will give you a very nice justification. After all, you're working late. It's 6 hours since you had dinner, and you're tired, and you spend the energy, so you eat it, right? So everything is fine and good, except for next day at 11 o'clock. Again, your senses will tell you that you need ice cream. That is how the senses operate. So that is something that we have to be careful about and not fall prey to the snare of mind, the snare of our senses. Katiya kamadinam katina katita palita durnideshas tesham jata maina karuna na tripano pashanti. So they say that these senses are very bad masters. They make me work 24/7 with no days off. Every day in the morning, every day that you get up in the morning, your stomach starts growling. That's sense of eating is telling you that I need food. Precisely like clockwork, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, every time to tell you precisely. Everywhere you go, like, what is there to eat? Where can I find something to eat? You're stressed out, you eat. You're not stressed out, you're happy, you eat. You're unhappy, you eat. Like that. So we have to be careful about that. And living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat and collect more than necessary. We should also do that. And where will all this collecting actually take you? I mean, Prabhupada tells you this nice story about there used to be a very rich man, and he made a lot of money, and he built a very nice house, and he used to live with his family, a nice wife, and he had kids, and grandkids, and so very happy life. He was really very attached to his family. And then of course, he was doing business. It was not Krishna conscious business. He had some bad dealings and non-ethical dealings, etc. that he did. So when he was born, when he got after his death, when he was born again, then because of his attachment, he was born very close to his family. Because if you're attached to somebody, the soul will come back there. And then, so he was born close to his family, but because of the misconducts in his life, he was born as a cobbler. You know, cobbler, mochi, the one who makes the shoes. And he had a shop right outside his own home. And so one day, because of his attachment, he knew from his previous birth that sometimes attachments are so strong that you remember your previous birth. So he remembered that, this is my son, this is my grandson, this is my wife, and all that kind of stuff. And I have built that house. And so one day he entered the house without anybody's permission. And obviously the kids did not recognize him, so they beat him with shoes. And they threw him out. So this is what happens. So too much of collection, what are you going to do? It will be all taken away from you at the time of death. So the more simple that you live, and simple living and high thinking is very important thing to do, right? Now high thinking doesn't mean that you look like that, then you're thinking, right? That's not high thinking. It has to come from inside, Proper Krishna conscious thinking is what you should do. Like that. Then over endeavoring is the other one, right? Atyahara priyashascha. Priyash means to endeavor. From the words. So atyahara was two things, right? Eating too much or collecting too many things. Priyashas is this. You're doing over endeavorment. Now, over endeavorment you will do because of the first thing. Because of atyahara. Because you want to collect more things. And you want to eat more things. That's why you do over endeavorment. You can also eat simple khichdi every day. Life is simple. Right? But if you want to eat better things, then you have to work harder in the kitchen. Right? If you have to eat more, then you have to work harder in the office to get money to be able to eat that much. Right? But there is a limit to how much you really need. I mean, Prabhupada always says that, whether you are a clerk or whether you are a CEO of an organization, whether you are earning 1,000 rupees or whether you are earning 1 lakh rupees, you will still only eat 3 chapatis. You can only still eat 3 chapatis, right? How much more? It's not proportionate that I'm a millionaire, so I can have, 600 chapatis for breakfast like that. So there are limits that you have. So over-endeavorment is coming because of our nature of over-collecting. Because we want to over-collect and we want to over-endeavor that, so then comes the over-endeavorment. And over-endeavorment will always lead to a lot of difficulties for you. In fact, in the Sanskrit and of course Hindi also, letter, the word mala, there is something which is known as pavarg, right? So there is kavar, ka, kha, ga, gha, the chavarg, cha, 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 like that. So there is pavarg. So there is pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. So what does pa, ba, ba, ma stand for? Pa stands for parishram. Because of this nature, this tendency to over collect. So because of that you have to do parishram, and then you have fena. Because of too much work, the boss will make you work. Boss will know, while this guy wants to have some more money, wants to have a promotion, so he will dangle the carrot that the managers will do, and we'll start going behind the carrot. And of course, in that endeavor, we get so tired that sometimes even foam will come on the sides of our mouths. I've seen that happen to people like that. So fena stands for pa, fa, bha, bha. And then vyartha is that, in the end everything just goes away, right? And then ma is mrityu. So papa, mama, ma. So our Varmala is telling you that, this is going to happen to you if you do over-endearment. For example, simple things like, you earn, for example, $200,000, right? I'm just picking up the figure. You earn $200,000, and then you go and purchase a house up on the hilltop, and the installments for that house come to $30,000 a month, right? That is, you did some, now you have to really do some over-endearment to be able to pay your installments, right? On the other hand, like, if your salary was $100,000 and you said, okay, fine, maybe, an installment of $2,000 or maybe $1,500 is good. So you stay there, don't over-endeavor, and then, because you'll end up in trouble, because there'll be a lot of anxiety if you go and purchase these kind of things, because purchasing the house is the worst thing, worst kind of a nightmare that you can go through, right? So we should always be aiming only towards whatever is the bare necessity for me, and that is, I mean, there's no end to how many clothes you can buy, there's no end to how much of jewelry you can buy, how much of electronics you can buy, how much of furniture you can buy, how many vacations how many times you can go to Hawaii again and again, right? And you're not going to get happiness by doing any of that, because that is not the nature. This is against your nature. Your nature is to do loving devotional service to the God, and that is the only thing that's going to give you satisfaction. But on the other hand, Maya is there, very, very close to us. In one of the verses in the same Bhagavata Purana, it just says that when a person becomes Krishna Bhayar Mukha, that is, he goes against Krishna. Then when a jiva goes against Krishna, then what happens is that he's thrown into this material world. And there's Maya who's staying very close. So Maya is very, very close. And Maya can also act in very, very different ways. For example, we want to fill our hearts with things. So what are the things that we try to fill our hearts with, thinking that we're going to be happy? Is I might fill my heart with a big bank balance, the thought that I have a big bank balance, so you work very hard to put money over there. Somebody might say that, bank balance is not that much necessary. What I want is that, I want to have a nameplate which has got lots of degrees next to it. Some people just like that. Some people might just want to look beautiful, and they try to collect that in their heart. But your heart will never feel full by doing any of those things. Why? Because if you earn money, there'll always be somebody who is going to be more rich than you. Right? Similarly, if you try to become learned, there'll always be somebody who will be more learned than you. Right? If you are beautiful, then there will be somebody more beautiful than you. You might not think so, but on the other hand, old age always comes and hits you. So that beauty also is ephemeral, so it will go away. So it will never give you fulfillment at all. The only thing that will give you fulfillment is that love of Krishna. And that is the biggest thing that we should always be aiming for. And that's why when we chant the naam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Our aim is to get Krishna Prema. Right? So, yes, and then over-endeavorment again. Even in our devotional service also, we should not be doing over-endeavorment to the detriment of our body. The idea is not to give pain to our body, because when you give unnecessarily pain to your body, the super soul inside it also feels it, and so it's not good for that. Talking about Maya and talking about sometimes we might just it's not exactly an over-endeavorment, but I just want to highlight this, that there's a very nice story of a person who used to on every Ekadashi, that person used to get up and go for Mangalarti. So Mangalarti means that you have to get up at 2:33 in the morning, get ready, and then go to wherever the temple is and participate in Mangalarti. So he was doing it for 25, 30 years, and he was very, very proud of the fact that I've done that. So this is some achievement on his nameplate. And so one night it became very late for him. There was some festival in the temple, so he was working very hard, and then he went to sleep very late in the night. So he couldn't get up in the morning. And he was still sleeping, the alarm went off, he didn't hear the alarm. And then suddenly, a lady comes in his dreams and shakes him and says, get up, you're going to miss your Mangalarti. And so he gets up and then he rushes to Mangalarti, and then the whole day he's just thinking that, who was this lady who came in my dreams? Who was this lady who came in my dreams? So in the night, he's so perplexed, he doesn't know. So in the night, he prays to that lady and says that, I don't know, you helped me so much. I'm so grateful to you that you came and helped me. But if you can please come again in my dream and tell me who you are. So then, of course, that night he goes to sleep and the lady comes again in his dream. And so he asks her that, who you are. And she says, I am Maya. So he's shocked. And so he says that you are Maya, but the Maya is the one who always puts obstacles in the devotional service. And so why did you help me? Why did you wake me up? Because going non-stop to Mangal Aarti was progress in devotional service. Why did you do that? So the Maya said that you had this pride in your heart that I have never missed a Mangal Aarti. And if you had missed this Mangal Aarti, that pride would have gone. Right? So I made you go to Mangal Aarti. I woke you up so that your pride will remain intact. And pride is something which is very detrimental to devotional service. So Maya can come and act in a very, very subtle way. And the tests of Maya are very, very subtle. So as you progress in devotional service, we don't even know when the test is happening. and you face a situation, and after we mess it up, then we realize like, oops, this is where Krishna was testing my patience, and this is where Krishna was testing my tolerance, and my pridelessness and things like that. And this is all Maya. And as Prabhupada says, the last snare of Maya, what is the last snare of Maya? That after doing a lot of philosophical pursuits, a lot of studies here and there, and analyzing and all that, last snare of Maya is that we think that we are God. That's the last snare. Maya will make you think that, don't you see the differences? I mean, he's transcendental, you are transcendental. He lives forever, you live forever. He likes this, you also like that. He gets angry, you also get angry. Yeah, I'm also God. You like that. So that's the last snare that Maya can put on you like that. Then the third thing is prajalpa, right? Prajalpa, and from the Sanskrit word, which is talking. So jalpa means talking, right? And pra, when you add pra to anything, then it intensifies it, right? So prajalpa means talk, but it is like a lot of talk or too much. So whenever suppose a lecture, when you were in a college and you went and attended a lecture from a very nice professor, right? So after you come out of that, you really like whatever he said, so you won't come out and say, he talked too much, right? You won't use the word talk too much. So when here they are using the word prajalpa, it is about talking too much. And when you say talking too much, it is when things are useless. So when people become, this is an anartha. To be talking too much is an anartha. So the word anartha is, an and artha. So an makes the opposite of the artha word. So what is artha? Artha means value, right? Artha means meaning, yes, and artha also means value. So anartha means meaningless. So what would be meaningless talk, right? And then anartha also means, from the economic point of view, that artha also means value. So when you're talking things which have no value at all, right? So Mr. X was talking to Miss Y, or Mrs. Y, even better Prajalpa. Do you think there's something going on between them? This is Prajalpa. Oh, and this can go, water cooler talk can go on and on like that. So that is to be completely avoided, right? And especially, there was a situation when somebody goofed up at the temple, and during Prabhupada's times. And so somebody went around and told everybody about, this person did this and this person did that, out of context, not necessarily. Sometimes it is necessary for you to tell that this person is doing this, so that you are aware and you are, cautious of that. But if you don't do that, but out of, for no need at all, you just go and blaspheme people here, there, left, right, and center. So he was doing that, and Prabhupada was actually more angry with the person who was blaspheming than on the person who actually committed the mistake. So that is the extent to which prajalpa has to be avoided. And also because words, when they come out of your mouth, they cannot be put back in. And they enter into the ear and they stay in the psyche of the other person. So it's an austerity of speech. It's a very difficult thing to control. Vachu vegam, the first verse of Updeshamrita says, Vachu vegam, so speech. And so speech, our body, our speech, and our mind should be utilized. All three of them should be utilized in the service of Krishna. That is the best way of best form of speech that we have. And actually, in the austerity of speech, sometimes people think that austerity of speech is not to speak, but that's not. If Krishna didn't want us to speak, he wouldn't have given us a tongue. Right? So tongue is meant for glorifying Krishna. So he says the austerity of speech actually is to recite the Vedic literature. So try to get up in the morning, pick up a Bhagavad Gita, try to recite it, you'll immediately want to go to sleep. Because it's an austerity to read these books and recite these books like that. So prajalpa has to be avoided as well. And then there was one. I was looking at the translation service. The prajalpa niyam agraha. So niyam agraha there can be interpreted in two ways, right? Niyam agraha and niyam agraha. So one is not following them, not following niyam's rules. So one is not following the rules, and other is to follow the rules too much. And both of them are wrong. Okay? Now, not following the rules we understand, right? They said that Prabhupada said don't eat meat. So don't eat meat, right? And then he said chant 16 rounds, so you chant 16 rounds. And if you're not chanting it, then you are breaking the rules. But on the other hand, we also have to understand that why these rules are made, why the rules are made, and what is your ultimate goal, or what is, where you want to go, right? So for example, your aim was to chant, or your aim was to go back to Godhead, and so the goal is there, and these rules are nothing but they are like roads. Understand that the rule is just a road that will take you there. You want to go somewhere, and there's a road. This rule will help you go there, right? Just as a road helps you go from one point to another point. You can also go from point A to point B without using the road, but road makes it easy for you, right? So, and then when it comes to the road, if the road has already been laid out, like you want to climb a mountain, if somebody has already made the road, you just take that road rather than trying to dig and make your own road. It will be a very difficult thing for you to do, right? So that is why if the rules have been made by the Mahajans before you, you just follow that road. At least in the beginning you follow it till you build your own road, or able to build a road that is more suitable to you. So if there is a road, if the rules are just like roads, and they will take you to your destination. Now, if for some reason the road is blocked, and then you say that because the road is blocked, there was an avalanche and you're trying to go to the mountain peak, and the road was taking there's an avalanche, and there is a lot of snow, or there are a lot of stones which are there on the road. Now you can just say the road is blocked. I can't go to the destination, you can stop. Why? Because it's a rule. The roads are the rules. So I have to do this. If I cannot do this, I will stop going there because I don't want to break the rule. Right? So instead of doing that, for a change, because of this time and this place and this circumstance that is presented before you, you might just have to walk through the fields and go back to an area of the road where you can again do that. Classic example of that is you're supposed to chant 16 rounds, and Prabhupada says you are supposed to chant it loudly. Right? Now what if you have a very severe sore throat? And so we will say, no, I'm supposed to chant loudly. That is what the rule is. So you chant, okay, chant loudly. After one round, what's going to happen? You're going to feel so much hurt in your throat, you'll throw away the beads, or set them aside, and you won't chant for the rest of the day because it's hurting. So these rules are not to be followed mindlessly. Don't follow the rules mindlessly, There will be some adjustment. Like for example, Prabhupada did not say, my spiritual master said chant 64 rounds, so you also chant 64 rounds. He did not do that. He, according to the situation, he amended that. Sometimes rules have to be amended, sometimes rules have to be abandoned for a little while. Because I remember when I first joined Krishna consciousness here, and I was actually aiming to get initiation from my spiritual master, and at that time I had severe problems with my hands, that it was very difficult for me to chant with my right hand. It was broken. I would chant, so I went and asked my spiritual master that, can I chant with the left hand? He said, yeah, fine, chant with the left hand. And if it's very problem, you just time your rounds. Like if it takes me 6 minutes to chant, then you can chant for 2 hours, and 16 hours are done, so that you don't have to do this kind of thing. And I still remember there was one small baby in the temple, and she looked at my hands and said, Shraddha Mataji, you're using left hand. Because it's just a child, it's a child's thinking, but quite a few adults can also think that way. So we have to be very careful about the rules and try to find the balance. And like how you were saying that the balance has always got to be maintained, which takes us to the next one, which is Jan Sangas Jalalyamcha. So Jana Sangas, Jana is ordinary people, right? So just don't, and in this context they are using the term non-devotees, and so Jana Sangasya, as my guru was pointing out, was that to try not to associate too much with these people, right? Who will always talk about mundane topics. So if you go and associate with people who are talking about mundane topics, then when you come back, the mind is going to present the same thing again and again because it has recorded that in the database. And then your decisions will also be based on what they are doing. Now then the classic question comes is that, but what do? I'm working. At work everybody is not a devotee. Should I join a company which is owned by a devotee? Well, and then you think that because the company is owned by a devotee, that the devotee will allow me to come late because I have to finish my chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's not going to happen. It's a different thing, right? Because he's operating in a different mode over there. So, Jana Sangha, what we mean is that when you are associating with somebody actually means that taking on their characteristics. For example, I always give the example of taking an iron rod and you put it into fire and it gets the properties of fire. So when you come that close and that intimate with non-devotees, which will mean that, okay, you want to sit down for a drink? Oh yes, let's go and have a drink together. Then that is wrong. But if your office work demands that you have to go to a meeting where drinks are being served, that's fine. You can sit in that meeting and let others drink. You can always say, I don't drink. And these days people are very, very positive towards these kind of people. You could be a vegan, you could have allergies to eggs and things like that. So you can always say that and they respect you. They respect you for that. And they'll allow you to do that. But then saying that just because it's my job and everybody has to have one drink or two, maybe I should just have a drink whenever there's a meeting and things like that, that's not going to happen. Because once you have the drink, the next day, your mind will tell you, let's go buy and have it. So then you go into an endless cycle over there. And then lolyam. Lolyam is the greed. Right? So give me some examples of greed.
Like we want big titles in our job. I want to become VP and CEO.
Yeah. And greed is that you want, like who's that? Maybe hear the story of a man who used to have a hen that laid a golden egg. So there's a man who had a hen who
Every
laid
day
an egg.
the hen will give one golden egg.
Yeah, because the hen gives egg only once a day, right?
So
the
then
hen
he
will give.
will, the couple will
Tell.
So like they found a hen which could lay a golden egg, and initially they were very happy. They would sell that golden egg and get whatever necessities they need for their living. And every day they were getting one egg, and finally they got greedy that why don't we cut open the stomach of the hen and take all the golden eggs at one shot. And then they did that and they found nothing but blood and flesh, nothing else. So that way they lost the chance of getting the golden egg every day.
Exactly, yeah. And as kids, we thank you so much. And as kids, we hear these stories again, like of the dog who had a bone in his mouth, and then he was going over a bridge, a little small bridge over a little rivulet in the village, and then he has a bone in his mouth, and he looks at his reflection, and he sees that there is another dog there who has a bone. He wants that bone also, so he starts barking. And guess what happens? His bone falls into the water. Right? So we do that. I mean, as kids, we might just think that these are kids' stories for the kids, but the fact that these stories are taught to us in our schools is that the teachers are trying to set the foundation for us. That we know that you're going to get greedy, and we do that. I mean, the higher it goes, actually, the worse it becomes. The worse it becomes when you're little. In your organizational structure, then just a small thing is fine. Maybe a bonus this year is good enough, right? But then as you go higher and higher up and you start dealing with millions of dollars, then a few $1,000 is not enough. You just want another 1,000. And the mind is like that. Mind expands, exponentially. And the greed is such. Like if somebody was to come and tell you that, they found some relative that you didn't know and he died and he gave you some $2 million in money. And so you'll be very happy, and your mind will immediately start thinking about how we spend, where we spend, and in no time the $2 million will be spent in your head. And then you will say, like, he gave me only $2 million, not 4. I actually need 4. I mean, you were absolutely okay a little while ago, right? But now you get into this, and this is endless, because now this greed is going to lead you to atyahara, where you want to keep more, and because of the atyahara, we want to keep more, you will do prayas, you do like the over-endeavorment as well. Right? And in the process of trying to do an over-endeavorment, you will mingle with other people. And you might just say, but you know what, I really want this deal, so what? If he's asking me to do things which are contrary to my religious belief, you'll go and do that if you're weak. Like that. So all these things are connected to each other. And what they are saying here is that they are linking these things that they are talking about, the 6 items that we talked, right? Shraddha, the last line is saying, Shraddha bhaktir vinashyati. So this is very, very important. They are saying this for bhaktas. If you are pursuing devotional service, if your aim is to find Krishna, then trying to do any of these 6, if you indulge in any of these 6 things, then your bhakti, the progress of your bhakti will be vinashyati, it will be demolished, it will go away. Right? So this is specifically applicable for people who are pursuing bhakti over there. So Any last comments? Because I'm just looking at the watch here.
One thought coming to mind about the last Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati in 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, very nice example is given where you can consider a earthen pot filled with water. So what happens is with our endeavor in spiritual advancement, we fill it with spiritual water. And if we do any of these things, 6 things that are mentioned here, it's like having a crack in the pot. So we will, even though we keep filling it, we try to keep filling it because of these 6 things, there is a crack. It keeps on getting drained away.
It's very good. Yeah, very
Nice
good.
example.
Yeah,
So it is an example from Bhagavatam directly.
Bhagavatam 11th
Yeah.
canto, but I don't remember the verse.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, most of the time, Mataji, as she said, that if the association with the materialistic people is such that you acquire their qualities or characteristics, that kind of association should be avoided. That means you should not get influenced from them. Rather, as devotees, if you could influence them into bhakti, that is a favorable thing.
Exactly. And so there is some attraction because this is a material world, and so the thing is that sometimes one of the things again I've always like to caution, and I'm cautioning again here also, is that there are devotees and there are people who are non-devotees, and non-devotees are of 2 types, right? They are one who are antagonistic to Krishna, so the outright kansa like that, and then there are some who just don't believe in God. They are into material things, so they're also not devotees, but they are not anti-Krishna. They're just enjoying the life over here. But anyway, whatever type of devotee they are, we have to remember that inside every body there is a soul, and the soul, the property of soul is that it is an eternal servant of Krishna, which means that the soul is already a devotee of the Lord. Every soul is a devotee of the Lord. It's just that they are covered by different layers which are thrown at us. The curtain, Maya throws a curtain on us, and because of the curtain, we are not able to see the reality, our reality as well as reality of the other person also. So when it comes to non-devotees, again, we should not call them bad things, and he does that or you does that and things like that, and I'm a devotee, and let them be. Everybody is on their own path. Everybody is following their own path, and they will also have their own rules. I mean, for devotees, it's fine. There are only 2 rules that apply to a devotee. What are those 2 rules? They are the mother of all rules. These 2 rules.
Always remember Krishna, never forget.
Never forget Krishna. Very good, right?
And never forget Krishna.
Yeah, always remember Krishna and never forget him. And all other rules, we talked about niyamagraha, right? All other rules are subservient of it. For example, when he says that, you get up in the morning to the pujari, you get up in the morning and you take a shower, and you have to put on tilak, and you have to open the curtains, and you have to, give food to Krishna, and you have to make a arti thali, you have to do the mangal arti, right? So that's also a rule that pujari has to follow. But what is this rule actually making him do? When he goes to sleep, what does he think about? Tomorrow I have to get up and feed Krishna, right? When he gets up in the morning, he takes a shower. There's nobody, there to look at him and say that you don't have to take a shower. You can just go like that. Or maybe if he had to eat himself, he might just do that. But for Krishna, he will then take a shower also. So you see, while you are following all these lower rules which are there, ultimately all these rules are feeding the higher rule, which is always remember Krishna and never forget him. And you will have a tendency of forgetting Krishna when you are in the association of those who are not following Krishna, because they will be indulging in prajalpa, they will be eating different kinds of things, they will have tendency to do atyahara, so you will also want to do atyahara, right? Because if everybody does the same thing, you will also want to do that, right? Like that. So, so I just wanted to point this out, that about devotees we have to be, about non-devotees we have to be careful about because again, if you are talking blasphemously about other people, on our part it is prajalpa. It doesn't benefit you. So speech that doesn't benefit you or doesn't benefit others, and it's very, very important, because sometimes we might be very harsh and very strict to a non-devotee, and especially us, we should not attempt that. For Prabhupada, it's okay, Prabhupada could get away with certain things, and he himself said that, when you are old, when you are of old age, you get away with saying so many things. Like your grandfather can say so many things and get away with it, but the child in the family cannot get away by saying the same thing. So we have to also keep that in mind, that always be respectful, because that's the nature of a Vaishnava. We always leave with a good impression, And if they are rude and obnoxious towards us, just ignore. That's a test of our tolerance. Just ignore, and Krishna will take care. Kaunteya prati janahi name bhaktya pranashyati. So your devotee will never perish. Krishna says that. It's a guarantee he gives. So just rely on that guarantee. You've got a good guarantee with you. Just rely on that. And Krishna, they are unripe. So everybody is a mango. Some mangoes are ripe, like you all, and some mangoes are raw, right? So the raw mangoes will get cooked by some heat, and from where the heat comes, it's not our duty to provide heat to others. Let Krishna or his demigods, whoever, or Maya, let they take care of that heat providing thing. We just take care of our fruit, the fruit that we are, and we try to make it more sweet, like that. Thank you, ma'am, for bringing that up. Yeah, that nice verse. Any other thing? Any other comment? Any other thoughts?
Which is the most dangerous, Mataji, if we have to pick one most dangerous among the 6?
Tongue is the most ferocious. Sharira vidya jal jodin bihata likhan jivakile vishaya sagure tar madhye jivarati lohamoy subhurmati takijita katina samsare krishna bara boyamoy gori bari divajal saprasad nadilakai jena vitapa radha krishna bhalaye premato chaitanya janmai jantai jai shri krishna chaitanya prabhu nityananda Shivadvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta. Right? So it says that this body is a network of senses. And of all those senses, the tongue is the worst and the most ferocious tongue. Tongue is the worst. And if you're able to control the tongue does two things. Right? It tastes and it also speaks. The two things it does, it's multi-purpose, it's bad. It's very difficult. And you will notice that it also doesn't have a bone. There's no bone in the tongue, which means that you can wag the tongue very nicely. So you can, form different kinds of words and, talk a lot without a bone coming in the way. So it adjusts itself, many words very nicely. And just like the tongue, you will notice that for example, if you go to a restaurant and you eat some fennel seeds, right? Saunf. After that, sometimes the saunf goes and sticks in your teeth, right? And then what happens? What does the tongue do?
It just goes there.
It keeps on going there, right? This is the nature of the tongue, right? So just as it will go there to something which is odd and unusual or bad, right? The tongue, there are 32 other teeth in the mouth, right? But the tongue will only go to that one. Similarly, there will be 32 people sitting in a room, but one person is bad. Instead of talking about the 31 who are good and anything good about them, we'll talk bad about the 32nd person. The tongue is like that. So if you start controlling the tongue, actually the first verse that says, Vachu vegam manasako vegam jivya vegam udarupasta vegam. So then your tongue and the stomach and the genitals are in a line, and so one conveys to the other. So it's a nice network. And so if you control the ear itself and the input itself, then it will help you control other things. And that's why you see a Friday night. Today's Friday, Saturday, this is the weekend. What do people do, right? They have drinks, they have dinner, and then they go.
You also
my
see
place
movie,
or your place, huh?
I was just making joke on this. Dinner, drinks, and movie.
And movie, yeah, and after the movie, yeah. So you keep on going into the mode of ignorance, because these are connected. These three are connected to each other. Like that. And so tongue, yeah, Mayank. Tongue is the one to control. So by the way, I did the prasadam prayers.
No, we have to still do that.
We will still do that.
Yeah. I know, I was thinking, should we sing along or
not? It should come naturally to you.
No, I was just thinking it should be the last, right? We are not yet done.
No. We can always have prasadam prayers. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, any questions? Any comments? And if none whatsoever, let me come. Yeah, go ahead.
Any question online from you?
So how to balance so it says we shouldn't over endeavor for collecting funds and we shouldn't over endeavor our mundane things. For so many things we shouldn't. Only for devotional service we should be focusing to get more and more.
And
Then-
get a mentor. Have somebody guide you. Have somebody, that's very important. Otherwise it's very difficult. Because we are sitting alone with our mind.
Yeah.
We'll never win.
Right, but my question is more about like if I'm in Hindi में अगर हम तृप्त रहेंगे तो how am I gonna make a goal and like at least maintain myself? You know, like if मैं अगर बहुत तृप्त हूँ तो मैं क्यों
Satisfied.
satisfied,
So
yeah.
if you're satisfied, then why do you want to break that equilibrium? Why
But
do you want
see,
to
let's say
endeavor?
I am so much happy in the state where I am, then I won't. मैं ऑफिस में जाऊँगा, ऐसे ही काम करूँगा, ठीक ठाक चल रहा है, and then I'll be kind of stagnant. I won't even aim for little growth, right? So how to balance that, like satisfaction versus growth?
Yeah, so you, again, the growth has to be tied to the needs, right? So sit down and see what the needs are. Like, so for example, if there's a bachelor and no responsibilities at all, he shouldn't be aiming for promotions and things like that in a normal way, right? If he's able to, because what happens is when you start doing over-endearment, it will cut into your devotional service. Because you have only 24 hours in a day, right? Either you can do this or you can do that. Right? Sometimes people might want to go into a higher position. I mean, we have the classic example of Ambarish Prabhu, right? He's Alfred Ford, the grandson of Henry Ford. So he wanted to renounce everything and join Prabhupada's group. But Prabhupada said, no, I want you to go back and run the factory and be part of whatever role he has. Because he said, I want the whole world to know that even a devotee can stay even at a higher place. So did he have to do over-endearment? Did he have management decisions to take? Did he have pressure? Yes, he had pressures. Yeah, but why was he doing it? Because the aim was something very different. He wanted people to be aware that a Krishna conscious person is not a dummy, he's not a loser. They can also, survive. And actually, all the money that he made is coming in handy now because he's giving a lot of money to Temple of Planetarium. I think $25 million $25 million. So again, and you will know, or ask your mentor, is this the right thing? Because sometimes, maybe at this stage, the person doesn't need. Then he has got kids. Then he needs money to take care of the kids. Again, always keep on tying it back to Krishna again. Is it going to help my kids become more Krishna conscious? Right? I'm going to do this thing. Is it going to help him? If it's going to help him, then go get the money. Krishna consciousness doesn't mean that you have to stop making money. It doesn't mean that you have to stop eating good food. It doesn't mean that you have to stop wearing good clothes. It's just saying don't overdo it. Don't overdo on the prasadam. Don't overdo on your clothes. And so what? If a person is not progressing and he's happy with that and he doesn't need the money, so that's fine. The problem is that we think that all the money that I get is coming because of my endeavors. That is the problem. Whatever money, whatever destiny that you have, whatever money you're destined to get, you will get that money. What does Prabhupada say? That if you are a rich man's son, what do you have to do to get the money? You just have to stay alive. The day the father dies, you get the money, right? And so Krishna, so it's already destined. We think ahankara vimodatma karta ham iti manyante. So we think. And if by doing our endeavor we could make the money, then why doesn't every fool in the office who does work hard and never gets promoted? Why does that happen? So there's a lot more. So that's a karma that comes into picture, and you will get it. According to karma, I can tell you the example of my brother. He was once trying to get. He was in India. He was trying to get a job for a country outside because that's a lucrative thing to do. And so somebody came and woke him up and said, "Hey, you know what? Those people are come. They're interviewing. They are in that hotel somewhere in Delhi." So somebody comes and wakes him up. He's not even aware. And he goes there and he's the last person to submit his application. There were so many applications. This is about 30 years ago story I'm telling. So there were still handwriting applications. There were so many applications, so obviously he was the last. So his application was at the bottom. Right? And they had only two places. There were only two positions. And so he was like, okay, come on, fine. I will never get that because there'll be so many qualified over there. I'm the last. Guess what? This guy, he goes inside, the peon, he goes inside with a bundle, he puts it like that. So he comes in first and then the person asks that, who are you? Oh yeah, you're hired. No endeavorment at all because it was destined. So if you think that, by doing our endeavorment, by working very hard, I will be able to make it, doesn't happen. And the interesting thing is that the more you work towards Krishna, the more you work for Krishna, Krishna provides more for you. Krishna provides more for you. And so, but you have to be willing to take that risk and say that, that yes, Krishna, Rakshishitati iti vishwasho. That you have the faith that Krishna will take care of me. Right? But that doesn't mean that you just stop working and say, okay, now, I don't have to work. Because you look at your situation, you are here in USA to propagate Krishna consciousness. To propagate Krishna consciousness, you have, say how I'm tying your life to Krishna. Right? So propagate Krishna consciousness, you have to stay in a good visa status over here. To stay in a good visa status, you have to work. Right? So as long as you know that I'm working because of this, then that's fine. If you say that I'm going to earn so much of money, and believe me, I know of people who are working at home and their parents are old, 85, 88, like that, their parents, and they are building like a 6-bedroom house for their parents. And they're working really very hard, jumping from this job to that job, working late in the night. I mean, your parents can't even climb a multi-story house. Why are we building that? It is just for our own ego satisfaction. It's like, this is how Maya operates. My ego satisfaction that I made a 6-bedroom house for your parents, whereas what your parents really wanted was that for you to take some vacation and spend some time with them. So you have to make,
I just wanted to say that the flow of life starts and you will know when to make money and when not to. So the flow of life just starts according to what I've understood. And becoming rich is not a bad thing.
Yes. Depends on the means and the aim. Why do you want the money and the means with which you are trying to make the money. Both of them will be important. I had a person who I know of a person who said, I really want to be, he was a devotee, a senior director, and he said, I really want to become a vice president. I really want to become a vice president. Why? Because he said, when people, and he had pictures and deities in his room in the office, which was a very bold thing to do. And then he said that he became a VP. And the reason he wanted to do that, he said that if I'm a VP, I'll be able to influence more people. People will follow me. And they see a VP is very spiritual in nature. They will say, okay, fine, he's so spiritual, but he became a VP. Let me also do that. And some people might in the beginning just take to devotional service because they also want to become a VP, and that's fine, Because Krishna says 4 types of people come to me, right? These are they want some gain, so that's fine. Because Krishna consciousness is like that, it touches you and it will reform you. It might take a long time because you started from a different level, but it will happen to you.
I would like to add, like in Bhagavad Gita, we read Krishna says to Arjuna that either you work for me or you dedicate the results of the work to me.
Yes.
Right? So if you want to work a lot, make a lot of money, make sure that a portion of it you contribute for Krishna conscious activities.
Yeah. We've got a Prabhu who comes to our congregation, and he says that I want to set up a startup company, I want to make a lot of money, and I want to donate big money. If you want to donate $1 million, then working for companies here and there, it'll take you a long time to be able to make those kind of donations. So he says, I will generate that money. So his focus is different. And as part of that, he might have to skip coming to the temple because he's busy with his startup and things like that. It's okay. He might have some fena coming out of the side of his mouth. It's okay. Why? Because he's doing it for Krishna. So the focus, as long as the center is Krishna, then that's there. And Krishna takes care. Krishna does take care of his devotees. The more faith that you have that Krishna will take care of you, the more Krishna will do for you. That is very important. Faith. Adhav Shraddha tatha sadhu sangha. The first that has to be Shraddha. And then other things will follow. So that faith is very, very important. And faith will come when you associate with people who have faith. That's the easiest way. That's why association is important. Satam pasangam amavida samvida karna rasayana katha. Right? So when you are in the association of satam, which is devotees, and you hear them chanting and talking glorification of the Lord, then that's going to have an effect on your heart. And then Shraddha, Rati, Bhakti, Anukanvashati. So then in step by step you will get Shraddha, you will get Rati, attachment to Krishna, and then love for Krishna. Bhakti is love for Krishna. You get that in that order. So association, which you are doing right now, is amazing. Yeah. And it comes. So the only thing, if you're thinking that, oh, if everything was destined for me in the material world, and so destiny could be good things like Uncle Sam leaving $2 million for you, but destiny could also be bad things that are going to come to us in the future, right? And so, what does a devotee do then, right? He's looking at, like if somebody looks at your chart and says, okay, now this is going to happen to you, right? So the bhakta will, whatever comes on the way of the bhakta always takes that as a mercy of Krishna. Always takes it as a mercy of Krishna. And indeed, even when bad things happen to us, they are really a mercy of Krishna. We might not like it that time, we might not realize it that time, but over a period of time, when things settle down a bit, we look back and we say, yes, that was the right thing that actually happened to me. Otherwise, I would have just gone down that path and, I would have been nowhere. It was good this happened and good that happened. Like that. So, and then the Bhama Samhita is saying, Yasta Indra Gopam Athavendra Ahosa Karma. So it's right from Indra, who's the king of the demigods, who's a very powerful position. And all of it up to the little insect, the red color velvety insect that comes out during the rainy season. So Yasta, that's called Indra Gopa. So Yasta Indra Gopa Athavendra, right? Indra, like that. Karmani, so Bandhani. So all of them are bound by the laws of karma. Whatever you did for that, right? You did this, so you suffer for that. So they're all bound, but he says, Karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. He says all these karmas get burned down. Only one thing, and that is bhakti for Krishna. So that is why if we continue to do bhakti for Krishna, and that is why this particular verse is telling you that, even if you think that I'm cornered, but if you're doing bhakti, Krishna will take care of all that. Just like how the President of the United States can go and nullify. What's the word that they use? I'm forgetting, but once a year he can give a pardon to people who are on death row and say, okay, don't kill this guy. So he can do those kinds of things. Similarly, he's just a President of the United States of America. If he can prevent someone from dying, to think about Krishna, how powerful he is and what exalted position he has. So how much he can do. With just a small glance, he can just remove all the things which are there in your karma. He can wipe off your karma like that. So bhakti to him will do that. And that's why this verse is saying that, this is, because we all know, as we grow up, as kids, we might not understand. The kids playing outside, they don't know, they're happy, they're oblivious, right? But as they grow, when I was young, my mom used to say that nobody is happy in this world. And I was like, I don't know why they say, I'm very happy. I'm a very happy person. I'm very happy, and then, life will always be happy. So then, I've yet to find a happy person. Yeah. So there is it's just imagination, or it is just, people think that they're going to be happy, they're not happy. So sooner or later you realize that you are unhappy and it's not going to change. And so you take to devotional service, and when you take to devotional service, then all these will go away. Even if you don't want them, they will go away. And even if you don't want it, Krishna will give you. For example, Dhruv Maharaj, right? Dhruv Maharaj started praying because he wanted a kingdom better than his grandfather, which is Brahma. So he wanted something really cool. So Brahma owns this whole universe. He wanted something better than this universe. Like, what is that, right? And then when he sees God after 6 months, he does severe austerities and he finds God. And then what happens? He says, "Oh my goodness, you are there." And he starts praying to Krishna. And he says, "You are diamond, oh Lord." And I was asking for pieces of glass. When I was saying I want a kingdom, because he's asking kingdom in this material world. But then what does Krishna do? He says, "Take me back to God, and I should just go back with you." He says, "No, you stay here," and he gives him 65,000 years to reign, and 65 or 35, I'm forgetting, but he reigns and he gets all kinds of, he was a very powerful king, and then later on he gets a planet which is even better than a material planet. He gets to Shraddha-devi, like that, Dhruv planet. He gets that. So have faith that Krishna will give, and that's why we have Srimad Bhagavatam, because they have stories there that when you. So this Bhagavad Gita is Hare Krishna. Because Bhagavad Gita is a lot of philosophy, where Krishna will tell you, Man mana bhava mat bhakta, mat yaji mam namaskuru. Right? So he's saying, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me. Right? So Krishna is telling you, do this to me, do that to me, I am great, I am superior. right? But then your question will be like, but tell me, did anybody ever try all these? Right? Is what Krishna saying, is this all really true like that? So that is why you have Bhagavatam, which is telling you that yes, indeed. And it will give you stories of people like innocent kids like Dhruv, who had very little bad things that they did in their life, and they found God. And on the other extreme, we have Ajamila, who did every possible wrong thing that could be done in his life. And he also took to devotional service. And then in between, you have so many to take care of. So that is why we say Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. That's why we say that you should read Bhagavatam every day to get inspiration from the lives of all these.
I close the door.
And then you know. And then it also is a nice reference for you that
You have to come see
this is what
people-
happened in the life of a king. For example, if we are feeling unhappy because my grandmom died or the parent died or something like that, then you pick up the Bhagavatam and you read the story of Chitraketu. Forget about parents dying, which is a very natural thing to happen in a person's life. Chitraketu's only son died. And then what happened? So you see that if death is something that can hit the kings also, then I am just a small fly. And then what did he do? Ultimately, how did he handle that? So maybe I need to learn from that. So there are stories and stories and stories. We just primarily to learn that. There are wonderful prayers in there that you can pray. There's nothing to beat the power of prayers. Like if you can't make your own prayers, if you don't know how to pray, then just pray. For example, if you are in a situation in life which is very difficult for you, pick up Gajendra's prayers and recite Gajendra's prayers. He was also in difficulty, right? There was a crocodile on his leg for 10,000 years. It's a very bad situation. But then in the end, he remembers the prayers that he used to offer as in the in his previous life when he starts praying. So if we can't compose poetry ourselves, we should just read from the Bhagavatam. Because it says that when Krishna is glorified by Uttam Shloka. Uttam means transcendental shlokas. So whatever we are speaking from our mouth has to be a transcendental thing. So if I'm writing poetry, it has to be transcendental thing. So how can I write poetry which is transcendental if I myself am not transcendental? So that is why we say that we should then recite prayers written by other exalted devotees, but they are transcendental. So you recite those prayers because they are indeed transcendental. And that is why when we are in ISKCON, we'll tell you that we'll be very careful about, don't just pick up any song from, sometimes Bollywood comes up with some devotional song and we tell you not to sing them because they are not Uttam Shloka. To do Uttam Shloka, they should have been written by a pure devotee. And so that's why we have no problem in our, we have a nice parampara, we have got wonderful acharyas, very melodious, very musical, Narottam Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, they have written amazing prayers and poetry, so we should just recite that.
On this point, I have a question. Like I've seen devotees using Bollywood tunes for singing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How far it is okay?
Again, it depends on time and place and circumstances, and how and your intention as to why you are doing it. Right? For suppose you are preaching to young people, right? Young people, if you give them the tune that we sing it might not connect with them. But if you give them rap music or some Bollywood song is becoming very nice, and you're picking up that music so that they will relate to that, then to that extent it's okay. But if you're doing it for your own thing and you're saying that I'll sing all the Mohammed Rafi songs or the Mangeshkar songs, well, no, we have our own acharyas. And because when I first took to Krishna consciousness, I didn't know there was ISKCON and things like that. It was just a natural thing there. And so from where do you get your poems? You get their poems from internet or Bollywood, and they're nice, they're musical, and they're set to nice music, they're wonderful singers, that they sing it so nicely. And I was so attached to some of them. So when I came to, like, I had my own prayer to sing when offering food to Krishna, or my own prasadam prayers to sing. And then when I come here, I say, your video, Joel, Joel, I was like, no. So I went and asked my spiritual master, and I said that, what should I sing? And this is where we have to be careful about, how we speak and to whom we speak and what you say. He said, because I was a neophyte and still am, he said that, and so knowing, what it would mean to tell a neophyte to give up something that is so dear to our heart, he just said that, you can sing them. And I was like, I'm telling you the meaning of all these. This is what it means. This is what it means. The meaning was all very nice. And this is what it means. And he said, you can sing them. But our acharyas also have very good poems. That's all he said. Now it's entirely up to you that somebody gives you an instruction. How much are you going to follow that? And so in the beginning I didn't follow. I was like, he said you can sing that. But then as you evolve more and more and more, then Krishna will also start helping, and one day, Super Soul will tell you, hey, this is what he meant. He was just giving you food, he was just being polite to you, you just sing those songs with him. And then as you go deeper into it, you start understanding the philosophy, and you start understanding the dirt which is in yourself. Because for me at that time I was thinking that, I don't think these songs can have an effect on me. Even if it's sung by a mundane person, I don't think, because I thought I was so pure. And as you start developing in devotional service, you realize that you are the worst person in this planet. So when you're the worst person on the planet, then you really need the prayers of Bhakti Vrksa, because in every line he's saying, Mosama Patita Prabhu, I am like so downfallen, I'm so crestfallen, and which is very good, because once you start realizing your problems, you start realizing the anarthas that are in you, and that is when the humility will develop. And when the humility develops, then only you can do Kirtaniya Sadahari. You can't take names of the Lord unless you have humility. Tanadapi Sunichena Tarore Vasarashana. Tolerance and humility, the two things are very, very important for you to do. And how much should I chant? How much should I chant?
Always.
16 now?
Minimum.
16 now? Minimum, right? Always? Right? So you start with 16, but then what does Krishna, how many rounds did Krishna tell to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita as an example? He didn't say anything, right? Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Said you do your duty.
You do your duty?
He said Satatam Kirtayanto
Yeah, I was looking for that. Yes, he said Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Satatam means always. Kirtayanto Mam. You should always be doing that. And it will come to you once you get into that habit of Satatam Kirtayanto while you are awake. Then even while you are sleeping, your soul will be chanting. And when you get up in the morning, you'll be very surprised to see that you are starting in the middle of a sentence. Because you were doing it before you woke up. You were chanting like that. You will notice things like that happening. So Satatam Kirtayanto Mam is good, because also when you're doing Satatam Kirtayanto, then you are, what is that theory? Some principle I'm forgetting, but like a particle can occupy only one position at a given point in time, right? You can either be
Uncertainty.
Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty.
Uncertainty, something like
you
that.
can't find out. Uncertainties you can't
You
find
can
out.
either find this location or the speed, something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, this one was like, either you are at point A or you are at point B at a given point in time, right? Either you're here or you're there. So either you're doing Satatam Kirtayanto or you're doing Prajalpa. So if you're doing Kirtayanto, you're avoiding the Prajalpa. And Prajalpa is very bad, and sometimes we do indulge, and I'm guilty of doing that as well. And but it has to be carefully guarded in there, because it takes you down very fast. And talking about thinking that jingles are harmless, and so what if somebody just just brings up a Hare Krishna tune on that jingle, on that tune of a jingle, right? Sabki pasand nirma, right? So Sabki pasand Krishna. So if you just say, I'm going to sing that Sabki pasand Krishna, then yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajyate ante kalevanam. That at the time of your death, this jingle will come, and maybe not Krishna. At that time, you just Sabki pasand nirma, and the little girl will come, on the nirma packet, and that's what you will become in your next life, a little girl. So that is why they say that you have to be careful about what you are singing, because you have no control. I mean, Vaishya Prabhu tells the story of this person who has been chanting Hare Krishna for a very long time, 30 years, 35 years, and then he had a near-death experience and went into coma and was leaving the body. And at that time, some jingle from his young age came into his head. No Krishna mantra came to his head. No Krishna mantra. So, yeah. At the time of the death, anything can happen. So always we should be just endeavoring that I should chant my rounds properly, and then Krishna, if you're chanting your rounds properly, Krishna will take care. Krishna says that you think about me your whole life, and at the time of death, it is my responsibility that you think of me. And if you're thinking about Krishna your whole life, at the time of your death, Krishna will think of you. He will do that, because he's all merciful. So
Mataji, sometimes in our dreams, we think we are doing something which we actually wouldn't ever think of doing in our real in conscious life. Sometimes we think, how come this kind of bad thoughts are coming to my mind? So is it, we don't have control what we dream, it is just, so what is the reason?
So the body that we get, the gross body, So we have two bodies, right? We have the gross body which you see, and then we have the subtle body which you don't see, right? The subtle body has got the mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? And so when we say mind, we include memory also as part of the mind. And so when a person dies, then the soul leaves the body and goes and gets another body, right? And then with the soul, the subtle body also goes to the new body, right? So we carry all the impressions from our millions of births with us in the form of subtle body as database, and you are now living in a new gross body, which was determined according to your karma and according to the thoughts that you had at the end of your life. So all those in some totality will give you a body, and that particular body is responsible only for dissolving a certain set of karma that you have collected. So it could be a big jar of karma, and you might just have one katori full of karma in this particular body, right? So and you see I'm doing all this, but then that database is inside there, right? And there are unfulfilled desires which are still there, which maybe you don't have the body right now to fulfill those desires. For example, if I want to run at 60 miles per hour, I have to be born as a deer, right? I cannot run in this body like that. So I have to wait and get that body, right? So similarly, but those desires are still there. And the karma is also there for you to suffer or for you to enjoy. So sometimes, when you are in devotional service, some of the karma gets dissolved via dreams. So somebody might come and kill you in the dream, so that's fine. Some karma got washed out. Some desires are still there that you didn't know, but they are still there in your psyche. They get manifested. They get manifested like that. Yeah. I mean, two important ways. I mean, there are other things as well why a person might dream, but majorly these are the reasons. That they might just shock you. Some of them might just shock you. You find yourself that you've gone to a restaurant, you have ordered a hamburger and you're eating it. In the morning you get up and say like, what was that? Right? Yeah. So somewhere in the subtle, that desire was there. And that Krishna is so merciful. He fulfills your desire that way, in that body, in the subtle body itself, without affecting the gross body.
Straight and left. No. You want to go to the restroom? Yeah. Just open.
I used to live in this apartment complex, so I'm feeling very good. Because when I was here in this apartment complex, I was not Krishna conscious at all. So it's good to come back, yeah. It's good to come back again. So I was about to tell her, like, I know where the bathroom is. So I lived there. So going to the next part of it. Because today we won't give us prasad and we don't do the whole thing. I'm just kidding. Okay. So Sri Namamitra, and I think some of that I covered. It says, right, 225, page 225. You should give Raj a copy.
No,
there's a copy there.
Extra copies are.
Oh, there's a copy there.
16 copies.
There's a copy there.
Yeah, we do. Right.
So a devotee engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that over 3, right? I just said, Pranadapi Sunachana. Even if rebuked or chastised, he should not say anything to others to retaliate. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests, not even if it's drying up and dying, does it ask anyone for water. This practice of forbearance, Pranadapi Sunachana, is very difficult. But when one actually engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the quality of forbearance automatically develops. Isn't it good news?
Yes.
The quality of forbearance automatically develops. A person advanced in spiritual consciousness through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra need not practice to develop it separately. For a devotee develops all good qualities simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati kinchana sarve gunastatra samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahatuna manorathena sita bhavato vahi. So what it's saying is that one who does bhakti, then he will develop good qualities like the demigods have got, suras have got, right? And then he says, harav abhaktasya kuto mahatguna. One who is not a devotee of the Lord, what good qualities will he have? All that he does is he sits in the Manurath, the chariot of his mind, and he keeps going outside to the material world. Wherever your senses take, he'll also go over there instead of bringing the attention inside to the Lord which is there in the heart. So, but if you are chanting, then you will get all the good qualities there. Then sharing is the essence. So assignment, cook, offer and distribute prasadam to your friends. Easy thing to do, right?
Yes.
Smiley Arjuna, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord risking their lives for spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Similar in India also, there are many examples such as Thakur Harudas. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problem. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. That's why Krishna also says, right, in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, no one else is more dear to me than the one who spreads this message that I have just now explained that to you. So, going out on book distribution, giving lectures, or having one-on-one with people, that's the best way to go. Guarantee that we will go back to Godhead. Any reflections, any thoughts on this? What prasadam you're going to distribute?
Anything which is offered with love and devotion to Krishna.
Yeah, no, I was asking for an action plan. Yeah, we should make an action plan, right? But how about, bake some cookie, or I'm just going to offer apples, or I'm going to offer grapes to Krishna, and I'm going to take them to the office. And if not anything, we just leave them in the kitchen.
Correct.
And in no time, they will be gone. Right? So just have a sankalpa, make a small sankalpa, I'm going to do that. And then next Bhakti Vrksa, we can talk about who distributed what. Right? So slowly, when you go and do that, this will be your own, and Krishna will be very happy with you for doing that. And grapes are easy, they just need to be washed. Right? Now, so maybe the next page.
Mataji, I want
We are
you
already
to
on this page.
perform Aarti so
You
that
want me to
everybody
perform
can.
Aarti? Actually, I was thinking that you and Raj should perform the Aarti in lieu of his birthday. Let him do that and we'll sing.
He is not used to doing.
So then you do it, he'll just be with you.
Okay.
You're used to doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you do it? Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll do Hare Krishna mantra. I think it'll be easy because everybody will relate to that. Let's do that. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
Kartal will play.
So we'll have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not that good at it.
I'm not got good either, but I will play.
We can call the kids also. So
Yes,
they can join
Aarti
for
time,
Aarti.
they will come. Yeah.
Okay, I think what makes this it's a very bad thing. If he gets sick and if he gets sick, that means he what? Can I take Aarti first?
ఇంకా perform చేయలేదు.
Okay, but can I get it first?
If you want to sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can sing.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Doing it right.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Laddu Gopal, 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 Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe, Jaya Jagannatha 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 Jaya Baladeva
Can I sing Nursing Aarti? You can sing.
Oh, he wants to sing? Absolutely, yes.
Can you sing Nursing
Yeah,
Aarti?
Nursing Aarti.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
start.
Suraj.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. नरसिंह भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय, श्री लड्डू गोपाल जी की जय, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, बालाजी स्वामी लक्ष्मी देवी पद्मावती देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, कूर्म स्वामी की जय, श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जी भगवान की जय, श्री श्रीमन महाप्रभु की जय,
प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। छठ गोस्वामी की जय। श्रील गुरुदेव श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। पंचगुरु गुरु परंपरा की जय। वृंदावन मथुरा द्वारका धाम की जय। राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जैनापुरी धाम की जय। द्वारकापुरी धाम की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai.
Jai.
So I'd like to I'd like to thank all of you who came for this wonderful Krishna Katha in the room, as well as to the audience who are online. And I would also like to thank our hosts, Sudevi Mataji and Raj Prabhu, and their wonderful son, Suraj, for allowing us to have Krishna Katha.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And then after this, we'll have
The prasadam prayers.
after the prasadam prayers.
Yeah.
And,
Mahaprasade
Govinde Namo Brahmani Vaishnave Sarvabhutyavataradam Vishwasvanavadate Shariraya Vidyaya Jodhinde Sagrita Jive Jive Vishwasagarita Saramade Jivati Yogo Maye Siddhamati Tata Jyata Kadin Sansare Krishna Gaurodayo Mai Gauri Sare Jiva Jai Swasada Madhilomai Sehen Namrit Pao Shri Radha Krishna Mulao Premida Goshi Chaitanya Bhagat Prasad Ki Jai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai.
Hari Bol.
Okay, so everybody please wait and have prasadam and only then we can disperse.
Yes, we are going to
Yeah,
walk the
so
dog.
we have some South Indian prasadam.
Very nice.
So let's see what is the surprising.
Okay, thank you everybody.
So I'll make plates for
everybody.
everybody.
And we are going to stop our broadcast now. Hare Krishna.
Don't choke me, don't choke me.
Excited.